Hello, welcome to this video. Thank you so much for joining me for this quick sort of ramble, I guess, is what this video is going to be. I wanted to put out sort of a video, I guess, now around the topic of personal integrity, honesty, and truth. And what this is going to mean and look like moving forward, now that they have openly released and started the disclosure of all of the things in technology, and particularly like the linguistic models, the Chat GPTs. This is a really big topic that I feel like should really be addressed and talked about, because it is crucial to our this is a really hard word to even find, actually, and so I kind of I almost wanted to just do a podcast first, because a lot of times I have big kind of brainstorm topics like this. I do a long rambling podcast. Not many people listen to podcasts. I don't feel like I'm wasting people's time when I put it out as audio. If you go to listen to a podcast, it's kind of boring. It's not meant to be entertainment like when you watch a video, or at least that's my general opinion, and a lot of people that I have talked to about that kind of thing. About listening to different things for different reasons, and why we use different platforms, or different type of content to share different kinds of information. It's kind of obvious, but it's also very interesting to talk about and to think about. And when you become a content creator, and you have all these tools to use and different messages that you want to portray, choosing, which modality is always unique, and it is tailor fit to the topic and the way you want to describe it, the points you want to bring up about it. And so when I have a big topic like this, and it's kind of like I'm doing like the stomping of the grapes kind of part of the winemaking, just the mashing around, and it's just like in circles, it's nothing really happening, but a lot is happening. There's lots of work and lots of action and a big mess, but you don't go anywhere. And like, if you don't know that you're going to be getting wine later out of that, people will be like, this person's crazy. What are they doing? Why are they wasting their whole day doing that? My brainstorming sessions, before I start even writing about like big topics, is a lot like this phase. And so I don't typically make videos, because I don't think people come to YouTube or VidShoot to watch videos to listen to just like this, kind of drawn out, not direct to the point. They'd be like, what's the point? Get to it, But with the topic and where we're going, and with this newest tool being offered to us, like Chat GPT, and of course, I'm not going to get into a lot of the technical side of it, but I do have a small knowledge base of it, and I do understand like there isn't just Chat GPT, and I'm not trying to single it out and say that this is at the forefront, or this is the thing that is the lock, the linchpin, or the lock for the key, or whatever, the only thing. I really do, and I hope you will too, open up your mind and understand that everything happens on a gradient. And when things are released to the masses, and especially when things are promoted as they're released to the masses, it's very important that we ask who's promoting them, where's the money, follow it, understand that money will lead back to power and control mechanisms and structuring. And then when you see that, and you identify who's running the show, so to speak, then you can understand better the smaller role and the larger role that it plays too, your smaller role. And anyways, my word of caution here is to understand and to make sure everybody knows that we don't have to know the particulars. And please, if you're into that kind of thing and rabbit hole digging, and you want to, and you do know more about that kind of thing, all well and good. All data points are relevant and need to be taken into the whole, valuable parts of the whole. However, I really just want to encourage people to more focus on themselves and on your actual physical reality around you, and getting that right, and getting yourself right, and not worrying so much about chasing the answers out there in the external. But just to know, if we all just had a broad understanding of how the thing works, of how information flows in their top-down hierarchy, the negative structures, the rules to it, we understand, where we are in the pyramid, and when information would pass into our borders and why, that it was coming from a top level and that it's been lowered down, as scenery in the play. We would understand and realize and maybe be a little bit more cautious about things like Chat GPT. And many of us are, and we're seeing it now. I'll say, in a quick example, and this is kind of what's gotten me started on this, to do a video on this instead of write a blog and even get into that right now. Because I'm thinking to myself, as I saw yesterday, and I'm not going to say the name, and I can't really remember either, so it's not that I'm not saying it like because I want to be exclusive or something like that. I just can't really remember exactly who the person was, but I think it was Substack over there. And they had like a paper, a research essay, footnotes and references, and a deep topic. And they were saying how this typically took them like all day or something to put out. And with Chat GPT's help, it took them for 30 minutes. And it was like a relatively famous person too. And I was just kind of like, wow, why are we, this is where it's going very quickly. I thought there would be slightly more skepticism, but I also thought there was going to be slightly more skepticism back in 2020. I kind of thought it was going to be like more people were going to have like a stand-up, and that turned out to be pretty false. So I'm not trying to say I know the future, of course. I don't. I don't have that beautiful gift. And I happen to be, I am a cup half full kind of person. I love to think that people have goodness in their heart and soul. And, that righteousness prospers over evil, And so, yeah, sometimes I have a little bit more of a rose-tinted glasses on about certain things in the future. And so, yeah, I kind of thought that there would be more skepticism. But yeah, so this guy put out that, and it was decent. I scrolled through it. I looked at it. It was heavy, and it has a lot of things. And as somebody who is a writer in my own, and someone who I enjoy, research, and I enjoy digging around about things, and I spent so many years doing stuff like that, I see both sides of the coin, I see the blessing and the burden of it, and how useful that can be, But this is why my concept here, and this is why I want to bring to the table and have us all have a think about, and please speak about. And even if you don't make replies and you don't make comments on my video or whatever, at least it might spark thinking in some time away from the screen, away from here, that you might actually, mull over these things on your own, and maybe have conversation with people around you who in your own direct world about like what you think about it, what they think about it, what is integrity? What does it mean to be human? What does it mean to be organic, natural, original? These words, truth and honesty, I feel are really tied to words like original and organic. And it's a funky, funky place, twisty, weird, funhouse maze kind of thing. You know, where they have like the floor that looks like it has optical illusions in it, and it's all wonky, and like you can't tell if you're going up or down or if it's getting smaller or bigger, but it's all the same size and you could walk right through it, but it's just like the angles of the paint and all of that. It's illusions, right? That doesn't change the truth of the hallway that you're walking through, and it doesn't change the fact that, you know, there is an original setting in there, but that original setting is being distorted and used in a manipulative way for self-service benefits for a system or a person or an entity or whatever you want to call that, you know, segregated portion. And I talk so much about this with like shadow work and light work in the Negative Agenda series, you know, on my BitChute channel. And again, this is tying this all back in too, because like this guy said with the research paper, you know, like something that would have took him a wicked long time took him 30 minutes. And thinking about all of these projects that I have going, and also especially like the timeline of the archons that I've been working on, and that I have like 3 different aspects of it in rough draft form, like getting a page, like a whole document that has all the resources, all the links, different books, titles and names, like the, you know, the footnote contents of things that I want to share. And it's never ending, because every time I think it's this kind of close to done, I'm like, wait a minute, I forgot this entire segment, I gotta add it in. And that's just like the reference points. Then you have to think about, okay, I have lists like going of the death of cultures, and like the tyrants and the slaves, and then the casualty cultures that are gone, that were wiped from the planet, lists of those and who did it, and then the actual trying to look at the linear timeline of it, and it's a lot. It is so much. And even just attempting to Mickey Mouse together like a Frankenstein first draft version to put out, that I feel comfortable enough to put out and share, has, I thought, and it's a tip of the frickin' iceberg, and yet it's weeks. And especially, not to say I'm not, you know, a paid journalist who has 8 hours a day that like I could dedicate to writing. You know, I am a wife and a mother, and I have 2, you know, kids, teenager and a 9-year-old, and I homeschool, and I have a garden and all types of stuff like that has actual, you know, chop wood, carry water kind of things that have to get done. And so I don't have hours to just dedicate and work through them. So I have to pick at it when I can. And again, if I just typed into Chat GPT, could I get, but would it even tell you answers like that? You'd have to probably be very slick with your wording and sort of come at it at historical learning angles of things, and be able to know kind of the names of things without calling them, you know, without asking about evil atrocities or anything like that, but knowing how to kind of ask it, I'm assuming. Because I have seen a lot on it where it's very biased, and it's what a conundrum. And I just am so surprised that, and maybe it's just because I'm also not really looking for it either. You know, I'm not out there looking at a bunch of, trying to find channels of people talking skepticisms and talking like weary about this. Because of course, you know, there's so much going on right now, especially, this is what they're bombarding us too, the financial reset, the great reset, we got everybody focused on the mother weffers, like Cliff High says, you know, the WEF, all these idiots, out there parading on their silly stage with like drag show intermissions. Everybody's so riled up over there, just like doing all that, that we're kind of on the fringe. We're getting the financial reset people, and oh my gosh, CBDCs and cryptocurrencies, and we have this whole thing going on, around the bend. But there's another bend still, and they've been telling us about it. They've been doing it. Klaus Schwab's been written all books about the fourth industrial revolution. He's been talking about that for 10 years, broadcasting, at least blatantly, that's around the bend, and that they have set the infrastructure. They're feeding the data sets to the models. They are basically the mousetrap game. They're coordinating all the pieces on that silly board where you have to put all the different little things that I forget what it's even called, the marble run that it goes through or whatever. They are setting up all the architecture in the background while they have all these silly things going on the stage that everybody's so involved in. And yeah, be involved. Also, we need to kind of be involved in that kind of stuff because it's a shit show and it's wrong, But unfortunately, that's the name of the game, and that's what this spiritual battle on that kind of level. That's the purpose of it, right? And I don't want to get caught up in that. And I'm already at 15 minutes, and I really am going to keep this video kind of focused and short. Because I have meditations to record still this morning. And yeah, see, like, back to all the things. As being someone who has lots of ideas and wants to put out things, and to take a shortcut like that and have it, write me a meditation on whatever. What do you get out of that? For me, as a creator, I just feel like that's training wheels. I feel like that's color by numbers. Like, you didn't. It's lacking originality. It's copying, right? And it's basically working with old to rearrange old into a new setting and act like you've created something new, instead of actually creating new in imagination space and bringing down and offering new. This is the same thing when we teach children in elementary school, or even when they get into middle school and high school, about plagiarism and how to know if it's your own work and stuff. If it's like 101 class teaches you, okay, if you read a segment, a paragraph, and you read about Ben Franklin making some kind of invention or whatever, and you're like, you turn around and say, your own wording of what that paragraph was about, then it's original work. But if you went and took the exact sentences from the paragraph, like Ben Franklin tied a key to, but again, see, this is where it gets wonky, because there's certain things called general knowledge, and then it's okay to do that because it's a sentence that anybody could come up with that's general knowledge, like Ben Franklin tied a key to a kite. But if it was written in the exact same way with the same exact words, then you need to quote it right from the paragraph, because you are technically stealing it from there. These kinds of discrepancies, these kinds of differences, they're based on intention, right? That's the key to understanding this. They're based on honesty, on transparency, on the truth. Whether you are acknowledging and giving homage to the truth, or whether you're manipulating and skirting around and attempting to present something as new when it's not. Right? Now this, and I'm going to get into it. I will link Creator Mindset blog that I wrote, and the other blog I wrote, I forget. I'll have to think of the title of it. But I talk about the math of it, 1 + 1 = 3. And that the triad of creation and stuff, and what signifies original creation versus how we know if something is copying or not. And it's basically like what I was just talking about. Did it come from your own words and from inside of you, or have you taken it from somewhere else? And when we use this kind of understanding, and we understand about artificial intelligence, AI, computer models, simulations and stuff like that, then we see that in order for something to be placed into a computer model or into a simulation, it, by definition, it has to be a copy. It cannot be original. And because obviously a computer is it's a machine, right? We plug things into it, input into it, and it coagulates it. It does something with it and gives it back to us, or it shows it to us, right? It's very basic, but yet people get very confused by it as well, and very tricked by it, and or they don't value original enough to really even be offended by, or even understand maybe, or even easy to be tricked into thinking that is better than original. And the world of scientism and the white coats and all of that, they probably most likely will spoon feed you this idea that computer technology and using the tools of AI is beneficial, and that it is for higher good, only good will come from it, that there's so many potentials that let's not worry about, the X, Y, and Z, the cons of it, let's not look at the negative side of it, because there are just so many pros. And if we stop and look at the world today, and it's pretty obvious, I would say, I really hope most people are starting to understand that the world is run by psychopaths, and like maybe we shouldn't give them the keys to the mansion. But this also looks to be happening, kind of. And so where does that put people like me, people like us, people who are wanting to remain organic, people who value organic over artificial? There's going to be a great canyon between the two, and unfortunately, people who choose to believe in the academia's world presentation of value and worth of life in general, will not value and respect that other halves on the other side. And this is where, the great divide or whatever is going to happen, and is really going to take place, because when we have enough people on the artificial side, with the power of AI behind it, and the surveillance mechanisms and the structuring and the matrix becoming really, really strong, it's almost going to be impossible to interact with that matrix without being chained into it and kind of locked into it. And I'm not really sure what will happen after that. If you get stuck in the grid, or you get uploaded into their simulation, or whatever, you get their chip, you log into their net, whatever is going to happen. I don't want to ever find out, basically. But we should know enough by now from the outside look and appearances, like, then it's eternal enslavement. So why step through a door like that? Why walk into a trap like that? Now the issue comes that the trap isn't actually just sitting, waiting for you to step into it. It's coming towards you, and as people who respect organic and don't want to infringe on others and like to, live in a service to others in a positive polarity, it's going to be interesting to see how that kind of thing plays out. Like I said, I don't see the future. I don't really know. But I see the game getting set up, I'm not blind to the game and the plays and everything, I'm just not a chess master. I just don't know I don't have that background knowledge of all the possible moves and who's kind of making what and all of that at that kind of level. Because, I feel you get trapped in the matrix trying to dig down too deep in there. Right now, and through the past, in the past, 40 years, that this has kind of, the split has been rolling and ramping up. There has been an availability of moving through the matrix, right? Of getting in there, trying to wake other people up, of getting out, of being able to have a variety of freedom. And again, I mean, perhaps it was only false freedom anyway in the whole thing. So this, could be. Now I'm rambling and ranting. Okay, I'm going to get away from talking about too many of the setup with the matrix and all of that and the intentions and the shift and stuff, because I wanted to keep this video short, and I'm at 26 minutes. So, with running the risk of running out of time for myself this morning, I want to just draw back to my original point about this entire thing, right? There is a bend coming that is going to lock us all in to surveillance state, basically. We all know it's coming, and at different varying levels we hear about it. You see people talking about it. It's pretty much impossible to miss these days, and by that I think we should all really be asking ourselves these questions, and be really saying, okay, I'm going to be presented pretty soon with a great choice. And the choice is going to be whether to stay as an organic human, and whether to value my originality as the way I was born and birthed, and to value human life, the ways that it lives, and Mother Earth, this planet, if you don't like to even call it Mother Earth, you don't have to, but the organic natural planet, I value that. I value the original setting, the hues of man, original tradition and cultures, and borders and boundaries. I believe that people should be able to live their life as they choose and to see fit in a pursuit of happiness here as stewards on our planet. You can like that choice, and you're gonna have to stand up for it and choose it and take action towards it, and you're going to be asked and tested in you're gonna have to make the choices. Or are you going to be corralled through comfortability and safety and security, these false visions of it? Will you be led into this really structured and controlled landscape that's more like a people farm, where you say, okay, humans don't really know what's good for them. Humans aren't really that great. They aren't like a creation of God. They're just a random evolutionary growth, and they have tons of mistakes, and we're not that great as is. You don't see life as a gift and something to honor and to allow and maintain. You see it as just something that happened, and you could tweak it and change it if you need to and want to, and that there is no like original setting and there's no honorability, then you don't see yourself as like a fractal source of God, a great original piece of something, you know, meant for a purpose, designed, you know, with intelligence behind it, with great purpose and within your design. If you don't see that and you don't unite with that, it's easy to get into this other aspect, to see humanity as something that deserves like any other, and not even like any other, but in their mind frame, like any other animal. And it's so unfortunate what we do to our animals, and industrialized farming and all of this kind of productivity, best for the company, most most beneficial way to run an industry. They take all that stuff into account, and that system, they run their systems negatively, right? It's all about the output. It's all about productivity. It's all about maintaining the system, right? Because they have that hierarchy. Negative. I can't even get into all that right now. But if you're interested in systems, I have whole videos that talk for a whole hour with great infographics about the differences in systems, negative flow, positive flow systems, how to identify them and stuff like that. I'll link them. Take a look at them if you're interested. But they think that they look at everything as running like a business model in this hierarchy, their pyramid structuring, and therefore they don't run a farm industry they don't honor the cow, and they're not like out there with the love for the cow and letting the cow live its life and like honoring it, and like say like maybe a small like farm does with like whether, you know, they grow cow for meat, and then maybe they really appreciate their animals and honor them. You know, industrial farming doesn't even take that kind of thing into anything like that into that. They want like what's best for the company, all these short steps that take up the least amount of time, so that, you know, everything is done as quick as possible, so that you can get as much done and make as much money, you know, as possible. That focus, and then putting that filter onto humanity, onto the world, and running the world like that. And that in itself is the giant problem to me. You know, that's the whole inversion and the trick of the show, and the reason nothing will ever work, and the reason that everything is negatively tainted and everything is drawing in and selfish and hoarding is because they run these systems this way. You know, if we had systems that focused actually on the user, on the human or the animal or whatever it was that was actually a part of the system, if we were looking for actual solutions for the user, and the output was modeled on how happy the user was on their interaction within the system, within the boundary, because at that point you could really even call positive systems really systems, but whatever. That's a whole other structure. It's a whole other way of looking, and it models whole other templates that are not industrial. They're not modeled for, you know, marketability and for profiteering or whatever. You know, they're marketed because they feel good and they offer a service that something needs to get done. And then when it needs to get done, it's done. You know, it's a whole different way of thinking. And this is what I'm saying about this whole presentation and the choices, and that we're being sort of corralled and like rocked into safety with these sort of technologies and tools, but they're all offered within the negative matrix structure. They all have been inverted, and they're given out to you for a reason, because they collect negative energy, and they're going to feed it back to the system. And if you use it, you're helping. And if you know, these kinds of things are going to come up in your own world, and day by day you're going to have to make the choices. Just like when you go to the grocery store, you make the choice: do you go to a person or do you use that self-checkout? You know, your interaction at that store is modeled in the data sets of the industry of that business, the chain, whatever, and they're watching, and they're taking and calculating all the numbers. And if more people are using that self-checkout line, they're going with it. If every one of the customers didn't touch self-checkout and went to a real human, and they had a line for real humans, and when they came and said, oh, self-checkout's open, go ahead, and everyone's like, no, I don't want that. I want to see the human. I want to have interaction with him. I like this guy, whatever, Gary, who works at the register. I've seen him every day for 20 years. I want to ask him how his day was. You know, I want that. I come to this grocery store for the interactions, for the nice people, for the good food, and to say hello to Gary or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, local neighborhoods and groceries, we used to have these experiences. This used to be culture. It used to be real. It used to be live interactions. And in the stores, in the industry, and all of them, they would never go and say, oh, well, Gary, you're fired. Everybody use those now. We don't care. Because everybody would leave and wouldn't shop there anymore, right? If we were in that model. But we're really not. People are just over there. People don't even know who he is. They don't even care. They're on their cell phone. And of course they just want to put it on the belt and let the beep go through and then run their card and keep it moving and go on in their life. And even, and you know, that's just one slice of the, you know, one window to look out of this great matrix system at. Because they're doing it everywhere. And that's what I'm saying. We have our little choices day by day as to what we're doing. You know what I mean? And how you're interacting with what they're offering, all of their products in their silly consumerist game show that they're playing out there, you know? If you continue to be an active audience member and you continue to walk down and play the role and win the prizes and do all this, or don't win and you're mad about it and you yell about it, you're still a part of it. You know, you're consenting to it, and the show will go on. If everybody gets out and leaves, the show's not going anywhere, you know? They are going to fall apart. But unfortunately, like I said, many of us are being fed and tricked, and for years now, you know, we've been infiltrated since before I was in elementary school. I went to school in the 90s, and I went to like college, university in the early 2000s. And even then, it was so heavily indoctrinated. It was so, I don't even, like, infiltrated with like a communistic kind of socialism, this like absolute inversion or distortion, a lie basically, but just such a blatant broad lie like that, and others trying to really confirm it and shove it down your throat. And if you didn't listen and you didn't go along with it, you were met with a lot of adversity. You were met with a lot of negative attacks or belittling, you know, or, oh, you're so stupid. Why would you still think it's that way? It's this way now. I got so much of that. And when you'd be like, oh, wait a minute, why is it that way? And oh, wait, this way before, it wasn't even this that you're saying. It was this, this, and this. And they don't even want to hear anything about that. They just want to jam their Marxist kind of responses at you and then make you feel bad that you don't care about the greater good and the whole. And it's like, well, first of all, your whole isn't the great others. It doesn't include every being. It doesn't include all of life. It's just another system it's just another taped off area that now you're calling the whole to trick everybody to get into. But it's not the whole. It never was. I'm not even going to get on a rant on communism and all that, because we all know who's behind that whole charade. And yes, it's the archons, and yes, the whole trail is back to the negative agenda and the archonic thing, but the structuring of it and the orchestration with the masks and the costumes that we're wearing at that time, you know, is a bit like Bolshevik-y, if I could say so, you know. It's so funny that history, you know, it rhymes. And here we are. Oh. So many things rhyme with you. And it's such a fitting word and phrase for disgust. And yeah, so I can't even get into to that great inversion too. Wow, yeah, now I've talked for 40 minutes. Oh my gosh. Every time I say I'm going to have a quick video, I don't. And this is probably like a rambling rant. I don't even know if I'm going to post this. I gotta... So many things that this, the event horizon that's approaching, is getting closer and closer, and it sparks so many different angles to look at it at that, yeah, it's hard for me to stay focused sometimes, I guess. So if you're, totally lost or waiting for me to talk about something that I had started talking about that I've gotten lost on, I really apologize. I didn't make a framework for this video at all or any notes. I just had that research paper on my mind and the way that it's presented, and also this wobbly kind of walk that we're on with having all of these tools now presented to the masses, and what kind of shakeups, that's really going to cause, and speculating a bit on it, and also from a personal level, I wanted to relate and ask people to also relate it to their own personal level, not to get too caught up in the threads and like what Elon Musk has to say about it or whatever on Twitters, but to like actually turn your life inwards, your lens on your life inwards, and to say to yourself, like, well, if I'm presented with the easy, like for myself, if I'm presented with an easy way to make this, timeline, and am I going to get on the internet and am I going to go to Chat GPT and ask it to do this for me? Or ask it what it thinks about this and use bits and pieces of it, copy and paste it, or read it and put it in my own words even. And then present that. And then when I present that, do I say this was sponsored by ChatGPT? Because it is. And are people doing that? Like that guy did. And I have seen like glances as I'm scrolling through things with people saying that ChatGPT wrote this, or sharing things like responses and essays that it's got from it, and presenting it, this is what it said to it. But, of course, this leaves that shady area for anybody to try to just pass things off that aren't theirs, right? And schools out there, this is a big thing they're talking about sort of in the media with schools and kids at, like, high school and middle school and stuff. Like, how do teachers be able to check for that kind of stuff? And it's such a... if you don't have an anchor, if you're not tied, like if your kite isn't tied, you're not holding on to that spool really tight, you don't have your feet really firmly planted on the ground in your own personal worth, in your own love for life, in your own self-respect for this reality that we've all been birthed into for some kind of reason, right? We're birthed here, we're alive. Like, this is here for a reason. There's purposes to being in this plane of reality. If you're not fully grounded in that, and you're presented with these kinds of tools, or you're using them or whatever, you're gonna totally fly off. You're gonna be lose yourself. That's I feel very sad about that, and very it's just so disempowering, especially, for someone like me. And hopefully, I hope, if you're watching my channel, chances are you kind of feel the same way, about life being a beautiful gift that we are bestowed with. And that whether it's like a God creator, or whether it's more of source or the ether, if it's an intelligent design, if this is some kind of epic game in a school that we've been incarnated into, or whatever, there's just so many possibilities that are full of love and meaning and good feelings and enjoyment. And it's to think that people could miss out on that and just totally be fed this artificial versions, lab created. It's really sad to me, and I really I really hope it doesn't get to that far. I hope more and more people will wake up to their own little spark, to their own uniqueness, and to live their life for themselves, and to say, no, I don't need to be involved in that. I don't need that crap. I don't need to be better. But again, that's the reason they've unhinged so many things for so long leading up to this, right? Because they wanted to make sure everybody was kind of not grounded, everybody as like chaotic as possible, and then they offer these kind of tools so more and more people go for them as sort of like they think it's something to hold on to. They think it's something sturdy and real, and yeah. It poses a very interesting philosophical kind of oppositional dualistic thinking about original and artificial, right? Of organic and a copy. And if we don't even have the conversations, if we don't even see what's happening, if we don't even see there is a big line and distinctions between that, and try to see where we really do fall and where we really do find value at, and where we really do sense truth and honesty and transparency and comfortability and acceptance, and freedom, right? Chances to move, chances to express yourself. If we're not even focused on looking for those kinds of things, it's very easy to be misled and sort of like lockstepped into where they're telling everybody it's going, and that's like isn't a feel-good place. It isn't human-centered. It doesn't value life. It doesn't value you. And if you have children or you have like family that you love, it doesn't value them, like you do. You value them, This way of life, this way of thinking doesn't. And if we could all kind of step back and see the great chance and choices that is, and say, well, I do value life, and so then you could make your choices based on that space of sovereign worth, you see all of those lies a lot more obviously, and you wouldn't fall for those tricks, And again, and so I'll close out with like, tools are tools, and I've said this so many times about all different types of things, whether it's that triangle symbol, the all-seeing eye, words, specific phrases, or, tools like the internet even, tools are tools. And it depends upon the intention of the user that's applied at the time of use and creation as to what happens and how that is used. You can't blame the tool, because when we blame the tool, if we ban the tool, or we say, oh, that tool is evil only, we're missing the whole other side of it. Everything is dualistically represented. Everything has two sides to it, and it's for our purpose here to discover both, and then to see around the whole, and then to make better choices based on the whole, because there's great wisdom once you reach the understanding of a whole, no matter what you're thinking of, any idea, any place, space, circumstances, big or small, inner or outer, they all represent and have within them the splitting, the dualistic comparisons, the contrasts. And it's the whole thing of growing wisdom and growing in conscious awareness is to take all the data points into account, and to understand then see that it's a coin, like a whole, you know what I mean? And to see that whole from the observer's role as the use of it. And that makes you wiser, right? It gives you more conscious awareness. It raises your frequency. It raises your, strengthens your intelligence of all, the infinite intelligence of all of your layers, mind, body, and spirit. If we all knew about these things and we all understood we have these great things, these wonderful organic gifts that are the originals, that they're trying to copy out there in the matrix and mock and make fake versions of, to try to make them better than the originals, to prove that they can make better than. But if we all stopped and said, oh, wait a minute, we actually have this. Let's develop organically this technology instead of going and using their negatives and making new copies out of their negatives, right? Just like, well, maybe people might be too young to remember cameras that spit out negatives, but and how you take the roll of film with the negatives and you got your copies of it. Well, that's, it's the same functioning. And instead of taking their negatives and making copies and trying to say you have a picture of your own, if you just take your own picture, the job is done. And you get all of the work, you get all the energetics behind it. You have the responsibility, you have the power there. You're not outsourcing your power to a photographer station over there to do all the work in the dark, and then just taking their proofs and being like, oh yeah, this is it, I took a picture of it. But then when you actually ever go and look at the picture, like, wait a minute, I don't think, was that the scene I actually took? Was there like a big blue house in there? I don't remember that. Do I remember that? Oh no. And then you go back to oh yeah, of course it was. You don't remember that? Oh, you must be crazy. Here's some pills. Go see my doctor friend for a little while because you don't remember that big blue house? It was never even there in the picture at all. But that guy put it in there and then made you feel crazy about it afterwards. And that's the name of the game, basically. So, instead of, like with Chat GPT, instead of outsourcing your brain and your beautiful creative mind, instead of doing that, just do the work, and you reap all the benefits. You climb the mountain, you get the dirt under your fingernails, you get the scrape on your knee, your muscles ache afterwards, you get the strength of it, you feel the repercussions 2 days later, 4 days later, you can get you can live in the memories and feel the sense of accomplishment. It gets added to your whole, it gets added to the whole, to me, it's very cut and dry in that sense, and I will always choose the realness. But I share this video in hopes to inspire others. And if you're out there and you feel like maybe like I feel sometimes, like the whole world's kind of lockstep going for this, and we're just like left out. Like, am I the only person who really sees this like this? Like, just know you're not alone, and that the best things that we can do is to make, like I said, these little choices in everyday life. Don't use their technology. Don't use their easy, convenient crap. Do it for yourself. Do things for yourself. Every day, these chop wood, carry water. That type of seeking has unyielding benefits to it. And they're benefits that you own and that you can work with. It's like your currency, and you're not they're not taxing it over at the system. And what a great metaphor. Same thing. Oh my goodness, it's everywhere. They do it templates in all different shades and settings, all different layers of their silly matrix to get you at every angle. But it's the same song and dance everywhere. So when you recognize the song and dance, and you're like, dude, I'm not paying your tax. Not going to work for you. I don't want to be part of that. But yeah, it is a little bit nerve-wracking to think and see kind of like the lazier people who are really kind of falling into it and just going to run with it, But we'll have to see where that goes and what that takes form as, right? But I think personally, at the end of the day, like I started off with, it comes back to these great words like transparency, honor, sovereignty, self-respect. Did I say honesty? Truth, original, organic. Those words, those representations, we should be, really learning what they mean for us, for each of us, and trying our best in a most honest way to make those choices that are in alignment with those kind of frequencies and with those kind of desires and wants, expectations and like assumptions and stuff, I feel like that will lead us more on a more harmonious path that is higher solutions, versus kind of lockstepping down their downward spiral into slavedom in 24 hours lockdown surveillance, all the way into your body, biometrics, like, and literally enslavement at every level. I don't know why anybody would sign up for that, but people have been buying those silly biometric Fitbit watches forever now, and wearing, all of their little metrics things, and logging into stores and scanning QRs and all of these things, which I just from the very start was like, wow, are you gonna be bossed around like that? I don't know. I was always kind of like oppositionally defiant ever since I was a child, so it's no surprise to see why in the Matrix, of course, they watch out, their algorithms watch out for anybody who's defiant, who shows any bit of like oppositional kind of thinking, and they target them, and they get them to, in one of many, many ways, right, to get them to dull down, to get them to conform in some kind of way, take pills, get in jail, get in trouble, get put away, get put in a mental place, whatever they can do to you to get you to just be quiet. To not upset their data sets. Don't be an outlier. They can't have like all these little outlier responses in their data sets, because obviously it causes undue work to be done. And yeah, now I'm going to get back into a rant about how negative systems work and everything, and I'm not going to go there. Like I said before, if you want to know more about systems, I'll share those videos down below. But yeah, so this wasn't quick, so I apologize for claiming it was going to be quick, but if you did stick with me for the whole entire thing, I really do appreciate. I appreciate so much everybody who watches my videos and who comments and sends me emails and everything, I think we have more conversations like this. We speak about it more openly in your own direct life. You know what I mean? When you're not near a screen and you get chances to make choices, ask yourself, is this like organic? Is this natural, or is this artificial? Am I taking the quick, convenient, easy way of, subverting my choice power and asking someone else to do it for me, or asking, machinery to do something for me? Or am I actually taking conscious responsibility, being alive in my life and present, and actually dealing with something and doing that mental work, doing that physical work, whatever it is. And like I said, of course, certain things are tools, and I'm not saying refrigerators are bad and like all of technology is terrible, and like it's intentionally based. But when you outsource intention to psychopaths inside the Matrix, you aren't going to get back anything nice. And if we come at it in assumptions of thinking that you're going to get something based on the greater good just because they have a flashy sign out front that says it's for the greater good, you're asking to be tricked, basically. Yeah. If we do more work to align with your intention inside, and to hear your own truth, and actually get your heart in speaking, listening to it, and actually allowing it to have conversations with your mind and your spirit, then you're capable of doing the work. You're capable of seeing the BS for what it is and saying no thank you. But yeah, this has been my little talk about it. Talk about sort of Chat GPT and the risks of artificial intelligence, and the risks of giving up our sovereign right of thinking and consciousness. The war on conscience is a real thing, and it's been a strong arm of like this octopus for, I don't even know, centuries. And it'd be nice if people would just wake up to it finally, I guess, is going to be what my closing is here, because I've tried to shut this video down like twice already, and then I get caught up on talking about different things. So it's just such a pressing topic with a lot of different angles, and like I said at the start, it was a bit of a ramble with not much direction. So of course now I feel like I have a bunch of loose ends that I should tie at the end. But I will be talking more about this, and I'm definitely going to probably do some writing around it and stuff. Especially more writing around the worth of writing and the worth of having individual thoughts actually recorded and not tainted by artificial. I'm not even quite sure where this is going to get at yet. But I'll have to explore that more in another video or talk. If you have ideas, if you have foresight about that, or if you're also like a writer, or you enjoy that, or maybe you have an opinion about you like, you're a reader and you like to read, you might have opinions about how you feel about content that was created artificially, or people using artificial content, whether they should be promoting and stamping that AI helped them, whether they should be sourcing it, where the level of transparency and truth and honesty comes with writing, and with sharing information now that we have this third party sort of always watching, always recording, always there and present, how we sort of operate within that, and where we can have actual honorability and accountability in that. Such large topics. But if you have any, insights, feel free to leave comments, send me an email if you'd like to. If you're interested in talking about it, we could get together and talk about it, have conversations, record it if you're interested, or we could go on a podcast with no video. I've been thinking more and more about opening that up and offering sort of interviews or conversation bits into that over on my podcast. So if you are interested in that, you send me a personal email. My email's always in the description. And in the meantime, you could always find me over on Telegram. You can find me directly on my website, amariespeaks.com, of course, with tons of personal information, but also a lot of free resources and references are over there on all types of things: introspection, spirituality, and happiness. So if you're looking for any kind of educational information, cool videos to watch, different learning aspects about types of metaphysical things and stuff, you can check out my website under my tools tab, and I have so many things over there across so many different categories, so you can check it out. And obviously my BitChute YouTube channel, which you're probably finding me on one of those here now. So again, thank you so much for tuning in, for listening to me ramble for an hour about this newly developing topic, and I'll definitely be talking about it again in the near future. So I hope you have a beautiful day or evening wherever in the world you are. Thanks for witnessing my journey. Thanks for your contribution to our beautiful collective, and I'll talk to you soon.